a second. There we go. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, man.
Yeah, we always say, okay, we're going to plan this out, and then life happens.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yes.
first show of 2025.
Yeah.
First of our live stream series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good holiday for you?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, just
Everything
relaxing,
good?
just getting caught up on life, and just getting ready
Year's
for this year.
already 7 days in already.
I know. I was looking forward to this year. 2024 was I was one for the books, man. Shit show of a year
in many ways, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So the 20th is right around the corner.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, let's just move on. Let's just go back to, let's just be normal again in the country.
I'm hoping, man. Yeah, I'm hoping that stuff will just take care of itself. We can get back to focusing.
Yes, focus on positivity and growth, and that's exactly what this year is
the rest
about.
of it, the background noise won't be as costly.
Right.
So the past couple of weeks, I had plenty of time to read. And as you know, at the end of every year, I go back and reread all my journals for the year. It's like it's cathartic.
Yeah.
Hard year.
No, I think it was a hard year for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody I've talked to said 2024 was, I don't know if it was like a year they didn't expect, and just like everything that could possibly happen happened.
Yeah.
Like I felt that way. Like literally everything, personally, professionally, could happened this year.
Yeah.
But I think it had to happen. It builds you. It builds character.
Yeah. And that's what you got to keep at the forefront.
Yeah.
Especially in when it gets real challenging. You gotta keep the positive at the forefront at all times. And I think it gets easier. It gets easier with age. Would you not agree?
It does. Yeah, it does. But I think I still have to mentally stop myself from like going down that like I'm pissed off route. I look at it as things happen. Okay, my initial reaction, because I'm a passionate person. My initial reaction is just to get pissed or kind of set myself off. I've just learned to take a step back and say, okay, what can I learn from this? What happened? Why did it happen? What can I do differently next time? Then try and just learn incrementally from those types of things. And I'm constantly learning because growing a firm, running a firm, managing people, you're dealing with all kinds of different people, and it's you learn as you go. And like I feel like every day I keep learning more that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the one thing I've realized with age. Like, and we've said it before, the older you get, the more you realize that you don't know. And that's what makes it hard.
So starting around Thanksgiving or so, I did an exercise within.
Okay.
And the exercise was to really analyze comments that people around me made about other people, whether they're one-time comments, repetitive comments, good and bad.
Okay.
And then try to take a moment and reflect on how I interpret that comment. Is it coming from a place of, and I gave myself 2 options only.
Okay.
It's hard with the gray area.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's coming from a place with them of a philosophy-based opinion of that person and decisions, or it's coming from a personality place and how that person looks at the other person. Is their opinion and comments about that other individual a product of the cult of personality?
Okay.
Or is it about their operational philosophy?
Define operational philosophy, though.
Well, if the person's sharing enough of the way their mannerisms are, the way they look at life, their opinions of how things should be.
So they're basically putting them into their box, like saying this is how I navigate life, and they're basing their opinion on that person based upon the way they navigate life, not the way the person is navigating life.
Oh, no, not exactly. I think what I'm trying to get at is that that is getting real specific to the individual opinion of how someone feels about somebody else. That would be, if that's all it is, if that's all, case in point, person A is very critical of person B in front of me. Continually. I started to analyze, do I get the sense that they're coming from a place of being charged up about that other person, a person B's personality? Really, just generally who they are emotionally.
They don't like the person. They don't like the person's personality.
That's the reason they're speaking harshly. Or is that harshness based upon a more philosophical bent on the way they operate, or the way
other person
their
operates.
views, their viewpoint, not so much the person's interaction with them. You know what I mean? On an emotional basis.
Yeah, but I still think that comes from a egocentric point of view.
It does, and that's where the gray area comes.
Yeah,
from. It's hard, but the idea was to see how, for me, if I could identify how much of the caustic, somewhat visceral crap we deal with, which is usually people just talking negatively about other people.
Yeah, a lot.
All the time. Sometimes once, sometimes repetitively. Right?
Yeah.
Is that mainly based and fueled by personality?
Okay.
Or is it fueled by philosophy, belief structure?
What was your final assessment?
I was looking
for
a more philosophical based vitriol.
Okay.
Couldn't find it.
Interesting.
Very little bits. When I boiled it down, the stuff I heard and had to participate in a limited way was all sourced based upon emotion, based upon personality, the perceived personality of the other person.
They don't like the other person's personality. Basically, what your assessment was.
Yes, it's not based upon the other person's philosophy, viewpoints, beliefs.
Like I disagree with you how you view the world. I disagree with your morals, your belief structure, your values.
Yeah, and after doing this all through Christmas, and I kind of stopped like a couple of days before the new year because it was just I wrote a lot with it, but I started to feel really not depressed, but I started to feel down because so much of our dismissal of other people in varying degrees seems to be coming almost purely from an emotional feeling. And then it charges us up to be outwardly expressive in the negative way, as opposed to observing how they either operate or view the world. When I operational, I mean more, I don't know, systematically, systems, more factual stuff, not emotions. Anything not tied to emotions. Like,
so let me try to make it simpler. Objectivity versus subjectivity is really what you're looking at.
That's why he's the attorney.
Right? Well, but that's how I'm looking at it. You're looking at, okay, if I don't like a person based on their person, that's my subjective belief of their personality. Correct. Objectivity is like you walk through this door this way. I don't like the way you actually did that. There's a factual basis to what you're seeing.
Or you view this way. Or
it's something that you've stated to me that I know is something I disagree with. Like if you like, mushrooms and I hate mushrooms, my opinion of you is based upon your hate of mushrooms, which you told me, which is an objective fact. Instead of just saying, like, I just don't like the way you look or the way you're talking. I don't like your personality. You seem like an asshole.
Yeah. So it just seems to me that if so much of our negativity is coming based upon an emotional opinion of someone else's personality.
Okay. Emotion's easy for people. Objectivity's hard.
Why is that?
Because objectivity takes a level of thinking that is critical. You have to look at and say, okay, what am I objectively? It's very easy. We're emotional creatures, human beings. We're emotional by nature, right? Our natural reaction is to react emotionally, as opposed. That's why people get angry, frustrated, stressed. That's the normal reaction. Instead of taking a step back, like we said just a moment ago, the older we get, the more we learn to take a step back and okay, what can we learn from this? That's objective thinking, right? If someone does something or something happens that is a negative in my mind, our natural human instinct is to get pissed, whatever that negative emotion associated with that is. Objective thinking is, okay, let me take a step back, analyze the situation. What happened? How do I prevent it from happening in the future? That's hard for people to do because you have to slow down to do it. Life moves so fast now.
I also observed too that we seem to assign the negativity to people when sometimes the negativity comes out of a situation which is not real person specific.
Well, I think that, or it comes from us. It's not coming from the person.
100, our self-reflection.
90% of people's opinions are a reflection of themselves.
Yeah.
When it's based upon emotion. That's what I believe. If I sit there and think about what people talk about, like, and again, I've tried to remove a lot of negative people from my circle, but the people I know, a lot of it deals with, it's a reflection of something they don't like about themselves. And so they're almost like lashing out themselves, but using another person to do it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know that I've done that myself. Like when you look at something, something pisses you off, it's like, well, be like, I do the same thing. Maybe I'm just pissed at myself. I'm just noticing that a person doing it, but I know it's a habit that I also have, which pisses me off. I think that's the self-awareness and the self-assessment that most people don't do.
So to conclude this, it was a couple days before New Year's, and I was having a rather frank conversation with a couple people. I intentionally brought up people that they didn't like.
Okay.
And predictably, they went in a negative fashion.
And
I absorbed it. Yeah, I got I felt bad in one instance because it made the person very angry to talk about this other person, and I felt like I was manipulating them. But it's almost like I had to find a way to ask them: Is there anything factually based, that you can say to me right here is the reason or the main reason why you dislike this person?
Okay. And could they?
Well, I only got that out to two people.
Okay.
And both swear they had all kinds of factual reasons, but I didn't hear any that made sense to me.
Okay.
And I guess what I'm trying to understand is, can we rewire our brains to not be bothered by the emotional temperament of others as much as we are?
No, I don't think so. I think if you're wired that way, you're wired that way. I think that's a hard thing to rewire. Maybe when you're younger you can, but as you get older, those become ingrained habits. Reacting emotionally to people, I mean, I take that back. Maybe you can. It's going to take years of work on yourself, because I think the people that react emotionally and don't have objective facts to support their opinion of someone else, and they're reacting emotionally, have a lot of work doing themselves. Because if you do enough work on yourself and have enough self-awareness and self-discipline, you can control those emotions, right?
Yes.
You can look at things. That's part of stoicism, and looking at things objectively.
Correct.
And I think it's still a challenge. Every day I face that challenge, but I think I've learned pretty well to control my emotions and look at things objectively. But it took a lot of work to do. And I think if people are constantly reacting emotionally, unless they take that step back and say, I want to do the work on myself, it's hard to change.
So we've talked many times on this at this table for years about the idea that politics is, it's like it's a microcosm of life. Wouldn't you agree, right? And it is a wonderment to me how opinions are formed on who someone likes or dislikes or willing to support or not support. And in every circumstance, phrase that, in most circumstances, if you pay attention, the observation I've had is that most people are making decisions about their view or their candidate or their team or whatever it is based purely on emotion.
Okay.
Whereas that's not what governs you. That's not the engine that makes the thing go. It's based upon policy. It's based upon philosophy. But we know that, but we don't use that to help us make the best choice. I mean,
we can go down a whole rabbit hole here with this. I mean, I think, are we governed by policy or are we governed by people's emotions? I mean, truly, when you look at it, is our policy decisions governing us, or the politicians' emotions governing us? Because if it was truly based on policy, they wouldn't fight as much as they do. They wouldn't talk shit on each party as much as they do.
Yeah,
politics are emotionally charged.
Sure. Yeah. Yes.
And I don't think that. I think if politics was an objective discipline where it was based upon policy and policy only, there would be no fighting, name calling. We should be okay. This policy's different.
I don't think we could ever get to the point where it's mostly one or the other. But it just astonishes me that we form an opinion on very important things in our life based upon how we feel or how
think about every decision people make.
I would hope it isn't every decision.
I mean, but most decisions, right? I mean, they're based on feelings. I mean, when you think about it, like when you want to eat, you feel hungry, but are you really hungry? Does your body objectively need the food, or does something trigger you to make you feel like hungry, or brings that feeling of comfort with food? That a lot of people that eat they eat based upon emotional eating.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things we do that are emotional, right? You think about something, you hear something, you smell something, it triggers an emotional reaction that causes you to do something.
Right.
I think human nature and human reaction is probably 75% emotional based. Because you just think about it this way: the world would be boring if we lived in objectivity.
Well, yeah, you couldn't find complete 100%.
I think it's very emotional. But I know you want to believe it's not, but
doesn't it seem? No, I think it absolutely is, and I'm astounded that it is as much as it is. Because to me, it shows a lack of wisdom in the overall species.
Okay,
because so much we know better. I would venture to say that we know better, that there are better ways to go sometimes.
Okay.
Yet we don't take that route because we're overcome by emotions.
Okay. But again, I mean, better way according to who?
Well, would you not agree that there are times where a person will see the path A to get to where they believe there's a goal that they want to achieve?
Okay.
Right. But it doesn't get them charged up emotionally either way.
Okay.
And although we can see that and we see the path and we know that's the direction to go, but for whatever reason, it's not going to give us the feeling we need, positive or negative. Why we need negative feelings, we obviously do.
Okay.
So we take the emotional route, even though we know it might not get us where, or there's a question mark whether we'll get to where we need to go.
But it's more exciting that way. I mean, when you think about, because I mean, think about that statement, right? We look at a path, we see the path, the goal is there, but there's no emotion attached to it. The whole point of achieving a goal is the emotional feeling of achieving the goal, right? The emotion, to me, like that's how I look at it. Like if I'm just checking things off a list, right? Then it's just routine.
Yeah, I get all that. Yeah, 100%. But let's take the concept of the goal out of it. I'll make this case. The goal is over there.
Okay.
Here's the path. Not too sexy.
Okay.
Here's another path. Path B has nothing visible in the end.
Okay.
There's, matter of fact, it's the way it looks like it's probably not heading in the direction I want to go.
Okay.
But I see opportunity for like charged up emotions in there. Why does a good portion of society take that path? Including myself, I'm sure.
I mean, why do people, when they have, here's this prize, you can pick what's in the box or behind the door. Why do people, it's the unknown. Like even though humans, we crave certainty, but when something's given to us that's certain, and yet we have an alternative choice that is uncertainty, but could be better, I think our natural reaction is to always choose this, or the majority of the time choose this. It's more exciting. I know what I'm getting here. I don't know what I'm getting here. It could be bad, but it could be really good. I'd rather take my chance and see what it is. I just think that's how human beings are wired. I really do.
Do you think we were always as negative and caustic toward each other in prior generations and prior centuries as we are today?
I mean,
we have no way of knowing for sure. We weren't there.
Yeah, I have no idea. I will tell you that I feel like a lot of things we do today, we've always done. We just see it more. It's more visible because of social media and the internet and TV. It's just
we have
more
better statistics too.
Yeah, we have better statistics. But I think emotions have always been. It's not like we just developed emotions and negativity when social media came
Bill
about.
Gates invent those?
Yeah. I think it's always been there. Maybe not to such a degree that it is today, because there's more things to trigger us today.
Okay.
Right. If you think about ghost centuries ago, right? I'm riding a horse to get places, right? So I may not see shit for 2 days because I'm on a horse through the woods to get to the next town, right? Now I can pick up my phone and see something negative immediately, without even looking for it. It just shows up, right? In the past, you could be alone for days, just because the way the world was so much slower.
100%.
I think the negativity was probably still there. It's been increased exponentially just because the speed of information has.
Yeah.
No, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I get it too. I just it's really fascinating. You know, politics is the easy one to compare it to. You know, people profess that they have this religion and they view life this way, and this is what they believe is right and wrong, all this stuff, and then they go and they vote for someone who doesn't really believe in most of those votes, because the candidate that professes to have the same philosophy as them, they don't like them. You see, the personality, cult of personality, is weighs heavier than the philosophy, which is, to me, fucking insane.
Yeah,
that we succumb to that.
I understand, but I see why we do that, because people look at personality is part of the philosophy. If I look at a person's if I'm looking at their personality, right, and saying, I believe their personality is this, and I'm making my own assumptions about their philosophy based upon my assessment of their personality.
Excuse.
No, I'm not saying, but I'm just playing this out because we're down this rabbit hole, so I'm going to play it out. But I mean, that's how I look at it, right? There's two sides to every story.
Do you have why do we have to like a human?
No one says we have to.
All right, hear me out.
Okay.
Before we can go with confidence for them, for the position, for the job,
trust,
whatever.
What's on the trust?
Why do we have to I know there's, I've been in sales.
Yeah.
People do business with people they like. I like that too. I like that idea. But why is it an absolute requirement? I mean, to me, the savvy way to maneuver would be recognizing that this is a very unlikable person. However, they're going to get me to that goal, or that price is right for my business, or they espound the same philosophy on these matters that I align with. I can overlook my caustic nature of their behavior, their personality, for their philosophy. That's the essence of what I'm astounded that we can't do that more often.
Because if we don't like them, we're not even looking at their philosophy.
That's it.
And that's what I mean. It's as simple as that.
They never get that far.
They don't get that far. No, if you don't like the person, you don't give a shit. You're not going to look at their philosophy. I don't give a shit about your philosophy. I'm not going to give you my time. I don't like you.
What does that even say about us then?
I mean,
we can't even get there.
Well, I mean, look, when it matters, I understand it. But in a lot of times, like if I don't have to like everybody, and if I don't like somebody, I'm not going to give them much of my time. And I understand we're talking about politics, but take politics aside and just life in general. If there's an individual that I don't like, just because of any reason, I'm not going to think about them much, if at all.
But would you? I know you well enough to know this is the truth, that there are people in your business world, not your company, but your world that you maneuver in, that you repeatedly do business with because it's good business.
Yeah.
Would you socialize with this person or that person? Maybe not.
I don't know. I mean, I would somewhat disagree, because I think we've been selective with the clients we bring on. And I think, I've never worked with a total asshole. And if we have, they're no longer a client. Because I think again, you have my personal philosophy is I want to work with people that I would have a beer with.
Yeah, I understand that.
And so I'm not, if someone's, I don't do things just for the money or for the transaction. I don't, you could be the biggest company in the world, but if you're a total dick to my employees or treat my people like shit, I don't care how much you're going to pay me. I'm not going to do business with you.
I don't even mean bad. I'm not even referring to bad humans, or like, let's say,
even likability. Look, I mean, there are degrees of likability. right? Everybody has different degrees of likability.
Right.
Do I want to hang out with everybody? I don't have time to do that, right? So that's why, like, over time, my circle's gotten very small. I've eliminated negative people from my life. I try and only hang out with people that are growing and looking to do big things. So I've limit everything I do is intentional. Like, I've learned that as I've gotten into my late 40s, that like all of my time and everything I do has to be intentional.
Just wait.
but it's true, because again, like I'm running a business, running a firm, managing people, trying to, provide the best service we can for our clients, and just also stay healthy and like live and sleep every once in a while. So my time is very intentional. Like, every minute of my day is accounted for. From the time I get up at 4 a.m. to the time I go to bed at 10 o'clock at night. I mean, every minute is accounted for. I don't have the luxury of just being able to waste time.
Agreed.
And I'm thankful for that, because I don't know what I would do if I had time to waste. You're in a quandary.
No, I just maybe it was because it was the holidays and I was around some family and some friends and so forth that invariably get groups of people together, and if they're drinking, whatever, it just seemed to me that rash decisions often are made about other people that we don't even really understand.
Well, let me ask you this: out of 10 decisions a person makes, how many do you think are rational decisions?
That's a good question,
right? Because you may be just looking at just the norm, and you're looking at like, oh, how can this be? That may be the norm, because I believe people make more irrational decisions than rational decisions.
Well, there's certainly a place for irrational decisions some irrational decisions with all of us. It's just which ones you choose to do that way.
Sure.
That's the differentiator.
That's exactly right. But I think human beings, like, we make a lot of irrational decisions. We go off instinct sometimes.
And probably many unnecessarily.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Sometimes, and that's why I think it's very important. I've learned this the older I've gotten, to slow down. If you're moving too fast, you make decisions sometimes irrationally. If you can slow down and look and assess a little bit, you can make better decisions.
All right, let me ask you this coming of age question.
Okay.
I think you're probably going to have a good answer for this. It might be similar to mine.
Okay.
Roughly speaking, I'm not asking you to pinpoint the day and the year. Approximately when did you realize that it's not going to serve you to form opinions of others until you were able to validate it yourself?
I'd probably say,
I know how you operate now, and since I've known you, and you don't do that almost to a fault.
Yeah,
if you do, you do it in your own private time.
Correct.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, you're right.
But when did that? Was it a cognitive dissonance that you just figured it out one day, or did you move into that?
I think once I left corporate America, I started working for myself and just dealing with different types of people. Like, I had to learn very quickly. I mean, when I was in corporate America, I did learn it somewhat, right? Like, people would say things. I have to know myself, and so I guess I've probably always had a level of that inside. But since I started the firm of working for myself, I think I've honed that skill. I have to, like, people could say things, but I have to see it myself. I have to like, this year was a prime example. There's a lot of things that happened, a lot of things I knew that were going on, and people were telling me, but I had to collect my own data. Like, that's how I am. Like, I will make a decision quick when I have the data to do it. But some people may think I make slow decisions but it's just me collecting data. Then once I have the data, then it's no question, decisions made, and move on. But I got to make sure I have the data to support it. My intuition will tell me. My intuition could say, yeah, this is what should be done, but I need some data to support it. But once I have enough where it's like, okay, these two can coexist, decision's easy to make. Probably, like I said, I've always had that.
It took that long? I mean, you were so maybe you were operating differently in corporate in terms.
I think I was just. I mean, I was young when I got into corporate, so I was
Okay.
just, I was
Okay.
literally like just keeping my head above water
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
first 5 years. And
Okay.
then I kind of got my feet under me and I said, okay. And I dealt with, so many different, the company there were so many management changes. I was there 14 years and there was, I think, 8 different C-level executive changes. So I was constantly just trying to navigate new people. So maybe in the back of my head, I was always formulating my own opinions based on what I learned, but I really didn't start noticing myself doing it and applying it on a regular basis till I left, like in 27, when I was 40 about. So I'd say I've always had that ability and I've always used it, but I think like 40 in 2017, I turned 40 in August of 2017, left in like February of 18. I was like, shit, I got to figure it out. I got to figure things out myself. And that's how I started using it a lot more.
It's so crazy because, like, even today, I was having a group conversation. I don't want to get too specific, but these folks were talking about their interactions with an industry person that they've always had via email. Now, they weren't saying we only talked to that person via email. But I heard it all, and I said, do you ever meet that person? Have you ever met that person before? You ever, what are they like in real life? And everybody just kind of stopped for a second.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, no, I've never met them. And there was a level of comfort in some of them to be okay with their opinion of that person, although they never really even visually put the eyeballs together. They never had a phone conversation. And that was okay. I'm not judging them, but there was a level of like complete comfort that that's their opinion of that person. They're no effing good. For these reasons.
Yeah.
But the only interaction they've ever had with this human being is through an email.
They had interactions, I found that online, like seeing them online or seeing their persona online. That's interesting.
Because I asked a question, like, if any of you, do you know that person in any other capacity outside of just receiving email?
Yeah, I mean that's interesting to me because I think a lot of people do formulate opinions based upon an online persona.
Think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I mean, it doesn't sound right, but I mean, that's the world we live in.
Well, it's right, and again, this sophistication where we've been bouncing around. It's not said in a high raw manner. It's just it's not real sophisticated to take small windows of people and using that to skew an opinion of them as a person or their work or whatever. Yet we do it. We're so inclined to make that quick decision.
But I mean, if we have to have an opinion of someone, we don't have to, but it would say where we are calls for opinion. That's the only data we have. Okay. And that's the problem. So the problem is we some people have to make decisions based upon opinions. And to make that opinion, they have limited information. They take the information they have and make assumptions. Be it right or wrong, that's what they do. We all make assumptions, right? I look at, I look at sometimes the way I operate is I'm a lawyer, right? So I don't twist words or manipulate conversations. I make assumptions. I say, okay, here's this historical data I have in my brain of ways situations have happened in the past. I'm seeing a similar pattern here. I know how things have went in the past. My assumption is this is probably what happened or what is going to happen. Be that right or wrong, that's just how I think. I'm trained to think that way. So if I dealt with a person over email and they said certain things and acted a certain way and they turned out to be a total shitbag, right? And I come across the same type of person acting the same type of way over email, my initial reaction is, or I'm going to assume that they're also a shitbag until they prove me differently. That's just me using data and making assumptions. I think that's what a lot of people do. Because, I mean, that's true. I mean, how else do you do things? You're never going to have the full picture. You're never going to have somebody's full life story, all the data you need. You have what you have, you make assumptions. If you need to have an opinion.
And how many of us go around our entire life and the bulk of these opinions we form on other people are made with extremely small amount of data?
A lot of people do that. I mean, a lot, I feel like, because there's not a lot of data that we get from people, And the moment we get enough in our mind to make the assumption,
we want to want it though, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to want to ask the questions and investigate and actually have conversations, right? Like to me, like I hate emails, like trying to form it because I want to hear how the person talks.
Not as much as you hate text.
Yeah, also true. because you can't get emotion from that.
Yeah,
and if you do, 90% of the time you read it wrong. So it's like I can read an email. I can read somebody's email 3 different ways, like the same words, 3 different ways based on 3 different people that sent it to me.
Okay.
So to me, it's like I want to hear their voice, their inflection, their tone, their pace. That tells me that's when I can form a better opinion. Over email, it's hard to form an opinion. You can look at the way they use language, their word choices, the way they structure sentences, the way they structure their email in general, and make up, I can make a good assumption about part of their personality, but to really understand what they mean, I need to hear their voice and actually speak to them or see them face to face.
Yeah, there's no substitute for
no.
Voice is tremendous, but there's no substitute for the full Monty, in person face to face discussion.
Yeah, I mean that nothing beats that because to me you can read body language. You can see how their face, see what their face does, how they smile, see their eyes. Like there's a lot of different things, a lot of tells you can get from a person to understand what's truly behind what they're saying.
Yeah. It was really interesting.
It seems like it, man.
Yeah, just because I think again I'm in an organization. My mornings are spent like in an organization. I haven't had this in 25 years. And it's just, not a lot's changed,
right?
but a lot's changed. But in terms of the way humans interact with each other, the difference I have now though is there is this virtual reality too.
Yeah,
that everybody. So they, they're walking around like they're talking to you and this. And you can believe it or not, the only ones in the company that aren't doing that are those couple of us that are on air for radio.
Yeah,
because we can't do that.
Right. Yeah.
But you see, I mean that's new to me.
Yeah, that's
realizing that
see it everywhere. That's the world we live in, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I find myself doing this. I'm walking through the office. Like I might be looking at my phone because I'm responding to an email or a text message. So I find myself doing it more often than not.
How much do you do in your business with video calls?
A decent bit. Because if someone can't come in, I like to see them face to face. And if they can't do that, then I'll do a Zoom call with them. I think again, you can read a person better that way. You can develop a relationship and a rapport with the person. So if they can't meet in person, I'll always recommend a Zoom call. And if they can't do Zoom calls, that like initial consults we have, they're always over the phone. But if it's a current client and we're setting up a meeting, like I'll schedule Zoom calls with them. Just 'cause I want to see them. I want to just see their face, see their their expressions, if they're upset about something, if they're happy about something, because you can't necessarily always hear that in someone's voice. You can see it on their face though. So I use it quite often.
Yeah, to me it's like invaluable. It's not as good as being there. But the reason I bring that up is I went to a meeting today, and it's the first time I had to go from my studio to Robinson during the day. And I just thought this is really, yes, it's toward my direction to go home. And it was later in the afternoon, or it was, 11 o'clock, whatever. I'm thinking it's not going to put me out inconvenience wise, but it seems like such a waste. And I got to spend an hour on the road during company time, which just doesn't, that's not maximizing my productivity for the day. Sound a little gruff,
Yeah.
And I went to the meeting and it was tremendously valuable and tremendously good. And it was good because I don't see a lot of other humans and just to be in there. And I realized the value. I knew it, but you sometimes have to be refreshed. The value of being there. As opposed to a video call. They could have put me on a video screen there and I could.
Oh yeah. I mean, being around people and being in the room, the aura is different. It's just you feel the energy and you tend to get better ideas. Like I can brainstorm with people so much better face to face and in person. I can over a Zoom call or over a video call. It's just hard to do. But if you're in the room and we're sitting there talking, like that's where my energy comes from. I get energy from being around people.
Yeah, for sure.
So I agree.
Yeah, just it's just I just am amazed at how quick it appears to me that we all have a quick emotional trigger now.
We all do. You do, I do, we all do. Just if we don't, you don't necessarily know.
Do we act on it?
I try not to most of the time, but do I still do it? Yeah, of course I do. I'm human.
Yeah.
I'm flawed as they come. So of course I'm like there are things that just set me off. But what I've learned to do is I react quickly and feel the emotion and move on.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's what you have to do. Like, and it's so stupid. Like, I always remember the show Lost. And that for some reason, one of the episodes always sat with me and it helped me deal with this stuff. And it was, did you ever watch the show Lost? It was the old one where they're on the island. The one guy, Jack, who's the doctor, I remember they were talking about the one, I think it was Kate. She asked, aren't you afraid when you're, cutting someone open and doing spinal surgery? He's like, yeah, absolutely. He's like, I let the fear consume me for 5 seconds. He's like, let it consume me, and then I move on. And for some reason, I remember hearing that. I'm like, wonder if that works in real life. This is a TV show. I remember, like, anytime I felt an emotional trigger, I said, let me just let it in and feel it completely, then just let it go. And that's sometimes all it takes, because you feel that fear, and then you just let it go and you move on. Then you can operate very stoically.
Yeah, well, that is stoicism.
It is, but I think people miss the part of letting the emotion in and then dispersing it. Sometimes they let the emotion take over and it doesn't go away. This is like letting it in. Okay, I feel it, and move on.
I don't think a lot of folks can grasp that concept though, because it's so
it's hard.
It's a little esoteric too.
It is because you're learning to let an emotion overtake you, but only for a limited period of time. So you have to learn to let it go, and that's hard. It was hard to do it first. And then once you understand it, okay, yeah.
Did I ever tell you my little 35 years ago? I had my little NLP journey, my little neuro-linguistic.
You remember talking about that?
Yeah, and I got it from Anthony Robbins.
Yeah,
I really went at it hard, and what I found was that I wasn't effectively doing it. I was doing what was required to separate the emotion from the logic, essentially.
Yeah.
Then I found myself in a very unhappy place. I always had to reclaim my emotions, which meant I was really good at doing it.
Yeah, interesting.
I didn't have any problem, but I recognized I was a miserable SOB. So I wasn't doing it right based upon Robbins's. Robbins had he used NLP, but he had his own take on it.
Yep.
I just couldn't get his take. I tried to choose when to let the right emotions in, and don't let the bad emotions overtake me.
Yeah, interesting. I
mean,
the brain,
it's a mind screw.
Yeah, but the brain is a powerful thing. People don't understand. Like, if you learn how to train your brain, it's amazing what it can do. Like, even with the feeling of emotion, like that episode, I still remember where I was when I watched it, and I still remember like thinking to myself, I was like in my probably late 20s, early 30s when that show was on.
Yeah.
I remember thinking like, that's pretty interesting. I said, I kept thinking about situations I was in, like, that would give me an emotional reaction. I'm like, next time I'm going to try this. I kept just trying it. And it was the better I got at it. It's like, when you get nervous about something, or like, shit, I'm anxious. And then you just let it in instead of trying to fight it, saying I'm not anxious, I'm not afraid. Yeah, I'm shitting my pants right now. Then you shit your pants and you move on. I did that before my TED talk. I remember I was nervous as shit. And I was like, okay, dude, just let it in. I let it in. And the moment I walked out on stage, it was complete calm. I felt complete calm. Like no one was in the room.
Like, how many times have you had moments in your life like that where it was maybe not dread, but moments of like anxiety? You're going to do something new. And as you're like, for me, when I finally, I'm at that precipice, I got to go do it. I'm going to do it. I'm there. I'm doing it. The moment I start doing it, I enjoy the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm done. I'm like, oh my God, I should have been doing this years ago. This is like,
yeah, it's happened a lot.
I haven't skydived yet, and I'm not jumping on those bungee things. I'm not doing any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I might like it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But, my luck.
Understand.
Break. And so, but, it's like, it is that very, very overused fear that, the thing you want is what on the other side of your comfort zone, fear or whatever.
False evidence appearing real.
It's absolutely true.
It is. I mean, anything great that has happened to me in my life has been on the other side of something I was afraid of. Like starting the firm, like, oh, I had no idea what I was doing. I just left the job. I said, fuck it, I'm going to just quit. Let's see if this works. I'm literally shitting my pants for months. Looking back, I wish I would have done it 5 years sooner. Like, it's been the greatest experience of my life. It's been super hard, super challenging, but I would not trade it for anything. But I remember when I did it, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I was afraid all the time. Like, did I make the right decision? Am I putting people in jeopardy? Am I, putting my family in jeopardy? Do I know what I'm doing? How am I going to get clients? How am I going to do this? And I just said, okay, shit, like, I got to figure something out. You just keep moving forward. And that's it. Then looking back, it's like, okay, like, fuck, why didn't I do this sooner?
Man, is that right? That is so right.
It is. It really is. And it's amazing when you have some, when you look back and reflect.
Well, everything builds, right?
Yeah.
You start, and again, overused term, you stack wins.
Yeah.
So I was having this conversation last week with some guys at the radio station, and they were talking about, everybody's just afraid to take steps and afraid to do something. People are afraid to ask forgiveness, just go do something and ask forgiveness later.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, well, I've usually always been okay with just going and doing things, and I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Doesn't work out, I'll figure something else out. But I said, how I got here, I still can't figure that out because I had no experience.
Yeah, I mean,
whatsoever. Never ran a radio board.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there after you folks hired me. I'm standing there first day with like a very experienced, jock trying to train me. I'm going, I got 4 weeks to figure this out. This is insane.
Figure it out.
I don't know. There's nothing about
Yeah.
any of this that I understand.
I've been there.
So I had that like whole day of fear, that whole day where I went home. Well, what did I do? I signed up for something. I remember
saying that. Yes.
Yeah. But then
here you are.
You fix it. You get there.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Just don't quit.
If you don't quit, but you gotta want it bad enough.
You gotta want it bad enough, and you gotta just trust your ability to keep moving forward.
Correct.
Like again, that's that one quote from that book, the boy, the horse, something. But he basically, the boy standing at the edge of the woods with a horse, and he says, I can't see the path, and he's like, well, can you see your first step?
Right.
And the boy says, yeah. And he says, well, just take that.
Yeah.
And like that always resonates with me because I heard on a podcast because it's true. Like looking back on my journey, I had no idea. I could not see the path. Like I thought I was going to be a solo practitioner my entire life. I could not see the path. I'm just let me just take the next month. Yeah, let me just take the next step, the next step. And here I am. There's 10 of us in an office now, and
it's mine.
We've been growing, and it's just like holy shit. Like I walk in some days, I'm like, huh.
It's like
not sure how I got here, but somehow I'm here. I mean, I used to work out of this like little doctor's office, like I was splitting an office with another attorney for like $200 a month, which is crazy. And that was, not long ago, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
It's hard to believe, man.
I mean, you just take the next step. You got to have this relentless courage, and
isn't it exciting? Isn't the unknown? Like I find the unknown.
This goes back to what we talked to. This comes full circle to the end of the episode. At the beginning, we talked about why do people that you see it right there, but they go on the path because we like it's exciting, the uncertainty. You just made the point.
Well, I would like to think I would like to think these paths that I took, I knew it was the right path, but it was wrought with a lot of like.
But you didn't know the right
uncertainty.
Path. The excitement was there. The uncertainty made it exciting.
Okay.
So that's what it is. It's the truth. Because if you knew exactly what was going to happen, you would have chose a different path because you're just like me. You're an entrepreneur at heart, and you want to do things that are hard. You want to do things that excite you, to give that emotional response. If I saw the path that these are 3 steps you need to do, I'm like, I'm going to find a better way. Yeah.
And that's a curse. That's a curse too.
It is a curse. It's 100% a curse. But I wouldn't have it any other way.
No. You got to be comfortable in your own skin in the way you choose to live your life.
Definitely.
But I just wish we would just we would collectively take a breath before we respond.
Yeah.
Take a breath,
We can have wishful thinking, man, but something my mom used to tell me, wish in one hand and shit in the other and see the first. Okay.
All right. Well, Rocco and I'll pour ourselves out of the hole we just dug for the last hour. Yeah. Good stuff, brother. All right.
Yes.
Friends, we'll see you next week. Thank you for all the feedback. We're back.
Yes, we are.
2025.
Yes.
All right. We're out.
Man, that was good. That was fun.